In the shadows where truth and tales intertwine, we find the thrilling, the chilling, the downright spine-tingling. From the paranormal to the peculiar, every echo has a story. Dare to delve into the unexpected, the unexplained? Brace yourself, for you're about to embark on a journey where fear meets fascination. Stay tuned if you dare, for stories that will make your heart race and your mind ponder. Welcome to the realm of the eerie, the realm of the unknown. And remember, like and subscribe, if you dare. Could there be truth in the tales of humans transforming into wolves under the bewitching glow of the full moon? The enigma of werewolves has intrigued, terrified, and captivated humanity for centuries. These mythical creatures, half man and half wolf, have left their haunting paw prints across the pages of folklore and history, leaving us to wonder about the line that separates man from beast, reality from myth. Werewolves, or lycanthropes, have been depicted as monstrous beasts, cursed souls, and even as symbols of our innermost primal instincts. Their stories, woven into the fabric of many cultures, have survived the test of time, passed down through generations, each tale more chilling than the last. One such tale takes us back to the 17th century, to a land where the belief in these creatures was so strong that it could seal a man's fate. This is the land of Estonia, where the peasantry practiced paganism and folk magic, and where the fear of the supernatural was a very real part of everyday life. In this world, where whispers of witchcraft and demonic pacts filled the air, lived a young man named Hans. Hans was just like any other 18-year-old, except for one detail that set him apart. He was accused of being a werewolf, a lycanthrope. At such a tender age, he bore the burden of a monstrous accusation, an accusation that would lead him to the gallows, making him the youngest person ever to be executed for lycanthropy. But was Hans truly a werewolf? Was he a victim of fear and superstition? Or was he merely a young man caught in the crossfire of a society deeply entrenched in its beliefs? These are the questions that surround the tragic tale of Hans, the enigma wrapped in the cloak of a werewolf. As we venture into this eerie chapter of history, let's try to unravel the mystery surrounding this enigmatic figure. Let us delve into the life of Hans, an 18-year-old accused werewolf in 17th century Estonia. In the heart of Estonia, a young boy named Hans lived a life steeped in fear and superstition. This was a time when the world was a confluence of old traditions and new beliefs. The peasantry clung onto the remnants of paganism, practicing folk magic, while the Christian authorities watched with a vigilant eye. In the early years of Hans's life, the shadow of the supernatural loomed large. The tales of werewolves and witches were not just bedtime stories to scare children, but a grim reality that the people wholeheartedly believed in. Every rustle in the woods, every unexplained misfortune was attributed to these creatures of the night. Hans was brought up in this atmosphere of dread and suspicion. His days were filled with regular chores and the struggle of survival, but the nights were a different story. As darkness fell, the world outside his humble abode transformed into a realm of unspeakable horrors. The fear of becoming a werewolf, or worse, a victim of one, was an ever-present threat. In this era, the Baltic region was a fertile ground for witch-finders, agents of the Christian authorities who sought out those practicing paganism and accused them of satanic witchcraft. The mere mention of a spell or enchantment was enough to bring down the wrath of the church. The tension between the pagan practices and the Christian authorities was palpable. On one hand, the peasantry held on to their old beliefs with the stories of werewolves deeply embedded in their culture. On the other hand, the church saw these tales as manifestations of the devil, painting a target on the backs of those who dared to believe in them. This was the world Hans was born into, a world where the lines between man and beast blurred in the moonlight, and where fear and superstition ruled the hearts of men. Little did he know, his life was about to become a living embodiment of these fears. But the fear of the supernatural would soon take a personal turn for Hans. A fateful encounter with a man in black would forever alter the course of Hans's life. A chilling story was about to unfold, a tale that would send shivers down the spine of even the bravest. Hans claimed that this mysterious figure was no ordinary man, but a werewolf, who left his mark on our young protagonist in the form of a bite. The transformation Hans underwent was not one he had sought out. Rather, it was forced upon him by this enigmatic stranger. The experience, as Hans described, was nothing short of horrifying. He felt a deep, primal shift within him, as if his very nature was being rewritten by the moonlight. With each passing day, Hans began to notice changes. He no longer recognized the man staring back at him in the mirror. His senses heightened, his instincts sharpened, and his appetite for meat grew insatiable. The physical alterations were as startling as they were terrifying. His eyes glowed with an unnatural luminescence. His nails hardened into claws, and his teeth transformed into vicious fangs. But the transformation was not merely physical. It was a psychological metamorphosis as well. Hans recounted feeling more beast than man, a wild creature driven by instinct and primal urges. His humanity seemed to be slipping away, replaced by a savage and untamed spirit. Yet Hans's transformation was not just a tale spun by a frightened teenager. There was tangible proof. He bore a scar, an indelible mark that testified to his encounter with the werewolf. It was a physical reminder of the horror he had experienced, a testament to the reality of his transformation. The scar, a gnarled imprint of what appeared to be canine jaws, was shown to the court. Hans claimed it was the mark left by the werewolf, a perpetual reminder of the chilling encounter and the curse he had been forced to bear. Hans's transformation was more than just a tale. It had physical proof. The scar bore witness to his story, a dark chapter in the life of a young man forever changed by a fateful encounter with a creature of the night. Accused and fearful, Hans stood before the judges, his life hanging by a thread. The courtroom, a cauldron of murmurs and accusatory glances, was a stark contrast to the solitude of the wilderness he had roamed as a werewolf. The trial was a spectacle of fear and superstition. Hans, a mere 18 years old, was accused of lycanthropy, a crime that held a grim sentence in 17th century Estonia. The peasantry, still steeped in paganism and folk magic, were a fertile ground for accusations of witchcraft and werewolfism. Hans was caught in an intricate web of fear, superstition, and societal norms that were unforgiving to those who defied them. Before the stern faces of the judges, Hans confessed. There was no need for torture, no need for threats. His voice, barely above a whisper, echoed around the courtroom as he admitted to hunting as a werewolf for 2 years. But he was not a willing participant in this supernatural dance. He had been bitten, he claimed, by a man in black garments, who he later discovered was a werewolf. The judges, intrigued by such a pliable werewolf, asked for more details. Hans, caught in the harsh gaze of authority, explained his transformation. He spoke of feeling like a wild beast, rather than a man, of a transformation not just of spirit but of body too. Yet, amidst the dramatic confessions, there was no evidence of murder, no bodies, no victims crying for justice. But the detail of the black-garbed werewolf, the bite mark that Hans showed the court, was damning. It was taken as evidence of pact witchcraft, a contract with Satan himself, punishable by death. The surreal trial ended, leaving behind a chilling silence. A teenager had admitted to supernatural charges, shown them physical scars from what could have been a mere dog bite. But the fear and superstition that gripped the society were too potent to question the veracity of his claims. Despite no evidence of murder, Hans's fate was sealed. A scar from canine jaws was all it took to seal Hans's fate. In the year 1651, young Hans, barely a man at 18, was executed. His crime? Lycanthropy, a term steeped in folklore and superstition, tracing back to ancient times, a belief in humans who could transform into wolves. No gruesome murders marked his trail, no victims crying for justice, only a chilling confession, a tale of a bite from a man cloaked in black and a physical scar that bore the mark of canine jaws. Estonia, along with much of the Baltic, was a fertile ground for such tales. The peasantry, still clutching onto remnants of paganism, often accused each other of witchcraft and sorcery. The God-fearing authorities, viewing these acts as manifestations of satanic witchcraft, would often dispense justice with a heavy hand. For them, a werewolf was not just a creature of myth, but a tangible, horrifying reality. Hans's tragic end was not born out of his actions, but a belief system rooted in fear and ignorance. The man in black, who had supposedly bitten him, was seen as Satan himself. The bite mark, an irrefutable sign of pact witchcraft, was punishable by death. Hans's confession, his willingness to share the details of his condition, was not seen as an attempt at understanding, but as an admission of guilt. As we reflect on Hans's story, it's easy to interpret his confession as a desperate plea to escape torture, rather than an admission of supernatural abilities. The scar, perhaps from an ordinary dog bite, was seen as damning evidence, not a simple mark of an unfortunate encounter. In the end, Hans's tragic fate serves as a chilling reminder of a time when fear, superstition, and misunderstanding could cost a life. His story, a tale of innocence lost amidst the shadows of ignorance, continues to haunt us, a spectral echo of a time best left in the annals of history. And so, our tale of the Campfire Horrors comes to an end. Until next time, sleep tight. Before we part ways, dear viewers, remember to stay vigilant. The Campfire Horrors may have been extinguished for now, but the embers of the unknown always remain. As you lay down to sleep tonight, don't forget the lessons from our tale. Safety is but a fleeting moment in a world of unseen. So, if you've enjoyed this journey into the abyss, don't forget to ring that bell and smash that like button. Do it before the thing under your bed decides to pay you a visit. Oh, and keep those night lights on. You never know what might be lurking in the dark. Thank you for embarking on this terrifying adventure with us. Until our paths cross again in another tale of the unknown. Goodbye and sweet dreams, if you can.